This is TWiT. We have birthday cupcakes not just for Alex Lindsay, but today is the 10th birthday of the Apple App Store, the iPhone App Store. iOS
we were born
Store.
together. It's us, the App Store, and Nikola Tesla.
Tesla's birthday, too?
Pretty sure.
Well, in that case, I'm going to have another cupcake.
Have a cup.
All good things.
I'll have an electric cupcake.
In honor of that birthday, we will sing the first 4 words of Happy Birthday, which you get for free. If you want to buy a pack of 20 more words, in-app purchases of $5.
We already sang it. It's too late. You did the chorus, and I think you did more than 10 words, Andy. So expect a bill. 10th anniversary of the App Store. Anything you want to say about that? I mean, that was a big deal. Is it my memory incorrect? Didn't Steve Jobs not want an App Store at first?
So that's an urban myth, and I've talked to a lot of people about it who are actually involved at Apple at the time working on it. And Apple is a platform company, and Apple always wanted iPhone to be a platform. However, it was so hard to get the iPhone to ship by June 2007 that they had zero bandwidth to actually come up with an App Store strategy. And the teams were so exhausted that there was no way they were going to get it done anytime soon. It was going to take a year, maybe more than a year, which is why they tried to do the web app as the sweet solution. But then that fell with such a thud, they had to go and say, look, we know you just did a forced march. You just did a marathon of sprints. Can you please pick yourselves up and do it again for next year? And they all just looked at each other and said, we absolutely have to do this. And they had a little debate about whether it should be AppKit or WebKit. And even the WebKit people said, no, it can't be WebKit. It's just not there yet for this kind of stuff. You can have web views inside your apps, but you need Cocoa. So they came up with UIKit, and then they busted tail to get that ready for that February event. And I think basically did another forced march for the remaining 9 months and got it done.
Well, it turned out to be a good thing, for sure. It's created an entire economy around it, and it's generated a significant amount of revenue for Apple. I don't know how much of the $9.2 billion they made last quarter in services was the App Store, but I have to think it was the lion's share.
A lot.
Yeah.
And it made apps popular, and it made developers, like it brought them all into popular culture. Now, it used to be an obscure thing that maybe you got like the Adobe licenses or Microsoft Office at your business, and maybe you got some shareware or freeware, but it wasn't the like movies or music or even video games. And now it is popular culture, and developers are popular culture. Like people think about it as a top astronaut, fireman. I want to make an app. Sort of a thing.
No, it's really true. I get calls all the time on the radio show. I got a brilliant idea for an app. Can you tell me somebody who can write it for me? It's like, dude.
I mean, it's incredible democratization of even if you think about Flappy Bird.
Kids, 10-year-old.
Is it Flappy Bird?
Flappy Bird. Yeah, that was
the poor guy,
just Vietnamese kid, teenager,
was not ready for selling.
Couldn't believe he made millions.
Yeah, in a place that you're not supposed to. Do
that. I meet 10, 11, 12-year-olds all the time who want to write, and some are actually writing, and some have even published apps in the App Store. That's a great thing.
And the fact that it's so inexpensive and it's so easy, and you really can build a business around it. It's almost like the next generation of delivery.
I wonder, though, how many app developers make money.
Well, no, but a lot of businesses don't make money either. I mean, like, most restaurants go under, most other,
is it harder to make a success in the App Store than it is as a
restaurant owner? It is
gotta be a lot easier.
much less expensive than a restaurant to get started. And you're only dealing with yourself. I mean,
in your spare time.
The risk is a lot lower.
There's definitely plenty of people who fail at it. And then they say, oh, well, you can't make any money on the App Store. But then there's all these people that, it doesn't mean that you can just put it up on the App Store and expect everyone to use it. You still have to think about VR. You still have to have.
It has to be great.
Yeah, it has to be, and that's the thing, is that the UI, the user experience on an iOS app has to be very good. I think that unless you do something really obscure, you cannot have anything that's hokey. Because I know as a user, I pick it up, oh, this is hokey. And I just stop using it almost immediately just over the design. Unless something is. So you still have to think about that process. And I think that a lot of people don't. They just throw it up there and go, well, no one bought it. Well, yeah, there had to have been some work around that, to make it work. But I will say the other thing that I've talked to a couple folks that getting recommended on the by Apple.
That helps.
That helps. Yeah.
It's like literally some of them have retired on that, just on a recommendation. I mean, a well-built app and then showing up on the front page is. There was someone I knew, I'll not make it specific, but that their app was featured in one of the ads and they just said it was stunning. It wasn't up to my house. You know, it was in a week. You know, it's just so there's there are and again there's not that many other places in the world other than sports, which is just as random. You know, that you could make that much money that quickly. You know,
there was a couple articles about like the Trism guy and Twitter Tweety guy, like Lauren Brichter and I forget the Trism guy, but how much they were making at the height of the App Store, and it was ludicrous numbers.
Yeah.
But that is such an apt analogy, though. It's like there are people who can start with nothing and by the age of 18 be signed to a 5-year NBA contract worth $10 million a year. And that's what gets all of these kids like neglecting their studies to make sure that they become really good at basketball because they don't imagine themselves being one of the 92.8% of aspirants who blow out a knee at age 14.
Yeah, but the difference is, though, of course, the difference is that when you turn 18 and you don't get signed, all you know how to do is play basketball. You know, when you turn 18 and you don't get signed for this, you know how to program.
You can code.
You know, that was
you got a really good skill.
It's a skill that almost everybody wants. So it's not a bad thing. I'm trying to slowly pull my kids into programming just so that they.
Because you don't want to work.
Swift? Would you teach them Swift?
That's all I'm teaching them.
You got a Swift.
I'm not even. Well, I mean that and a variety of coding for Arduino and that kind of thing. So it's it's a little bit of mixture. The idea of thinking about it. At first, I don't want them thinking about they could get a job or anything else. I just want them to see that using electronics and coding is just fun. Is just to fix things. Like that's why we were talking about like how to water the plants or how to do these other things. It's just how to fix things. Like
I think if you're going to succeed as a coder, you got to actually enjoy it.
I learned how to code because I was tired of rolling dice for Dungeons and Dragons.
That's a great reason.
My first app was something that just created non-player characters because I was a dungeon master and I was like, this is taking forever to build all these non-player characters.
That's actually really good incentive. Yeah,
you know, and so that was my impetus, and then I did Rocket Trajectories, which is much more interesting. Learned a lot more.
Yeah,
math.
no, that's why I don't like when people show me curricula for learning for programming. I'm always kind of bummed out when it really is more like we're going to teach you how to do math. Like, no, that's not how programming works. Just we don't teach. We give kids paper and crayons and tell them to draw whatever they want. We don't teach them all about the history of the crayon. We don't tell them about how varying pressure can create varying lines. The way to teach programming is to say what kind of app is not out there yet, but you'd love to have. And it doesn't have to be. We're not talking about making success in the App Store. It's like for you, little Alex. What is the little Alex app? So I want one so that every time I have a piece of gum, I can keep track of what kind of piece of gum I had and how it lasted. Great. So we're gonna for the next 4 weeks, we're gonna build a little Alex's piece of gum. How long did that last app? And that's how you learn step by step by step.
Right.
That really is the way to go. But one thing I really wanted to respond to though is that. I don't think we should give all the credit to the App Store. I think there's a three-legged stool here that the App Store would not have had. You need the App Store, you need a powerful mobile device, and you need mobile broadband. It wasn't until with any one of these three legs of the stool missing.
I agree.
Neither of them would have been quite so good. We had mobile apps and stores where you could get mobile apps, but we didn't have an internet, and we didn't have something as well done as the App Store. And it wasn't just the App Store. It was that someone decides to write an Instagram app that can suddenly take this. You're no longer taking your phone home and syncing these wonderful 2-megapixel images and then emailing them to people on AOL. You are basically saying, hey, here I am, here's my food, here's the person who was mean to me at the parking lot. And that's what gets people to the App Store to find out what the next app they want to get is. So
Renee, did you get the poster? I wanted this poster.
No, I didn't.
Oh. Well, wait a minute. This is for the 5 years of the App Store.
Yeah.
I want the 10-year poster.
I mean, I had a bunch of phones before the iPhone, mostly Trios. I had some Windows mobile devices,
Trio was
and there was no singular App Store. I had to go to like Palm Info Center.
There was a
and Pure
BlackBerry.
Central
There
and
was a BlackBerry app store.
Well, there was a CrackBerry store, but there was no App World until BlackBerry 10 came out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which was great for CrackBerry at the time, but
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. And I would buy them from many places. I'd forget where they were. Each one had a different licensing scheme. Some of them were incredibly onerous. They were super expensive. Like it was $40 for the yellow Sticky Notes app and $40 for IM Plus, and they were hard to install. They would crash the phone. Like the phone call would come in, and the app would crash the entire phone while I was trying to. And it was such a different world. And when that app store got put on there and it was secure and you didn't have to worry about it. And I had a bunch of developer friends who were writing the Windows mobile and Palm apps, and they're just like, there is no amount of money that we could pay that is worth the amount of trust that just goes into people going there, pressing the button and buying your app. And that was like the biggest thing for them, was that they could make software that for the first time was really mainstream. It was so expensive to get boxes and shrink wrap and be in the big buy stores or create our own website and do all these things. And we sort of take it for granted now that at any time we hit that little icon and it gives birth to a million other little icons on our phone, and we don't even have to think about it anymore.
Well, and
not only that, but I've been to Bare Bones Software's offices back in the day. They needed offices because they were doing things mail order. They needed a room where they could pack. They could pay people to pack boxes and put T-shirts and manuals in boxes. And the internet really changed all of that. And it wasn't just for the users having this one place to come to find where all the apps are going to be and do a search for them. It's also your developer, your programmer. You're really good at programming, and you think that you've got this outliner app that's actually very useful and very saleable. Now, do you release it as freeware and then say, everybody have at it, it's wonderful, enjoy it, I'll take my pleasure at the fact that you people enjoy it? Or are you going to incorporate and then figure out how to take credit card transactions and open a business account at your local bank and get a lawyer to incorporate? That was part of the problem. That was probably part of the reasons why great apps weren't going to be turned into commercial products. But the ability to fill out a few online forms and just simply say, I don't care that you're taking 30 cents out of every dollar. I'm not even going to break it down to see if I can get a better deal elsewhere. If I can get a deal where all I do is I send you my package and then you simply send me a check from time to time reflecting the amount of sales that I got, I'm good. That's what brought people.
And when we had an app, I mean, we had this green screen removal app, GBMat, and it was that was
a desktop app.
The desktop app. It was a plugin for Final Cut, and it made a lot of money. I mean, it wasn't but it was all electronic. The first thing we did was training, which was on CDs on Photoshop, and we developed this long 70,000 mailing list because of.
MacBreak Weekly.
No, screensavers.
Screensavers.
Because I would be on every
Well,
week.
congratulations.
That was the whole model, Leo. so anyway, because I'd always go, we didn't have enough time.
I was wondering why you keep showing up.
Oh,
okay,
every week.
I know.
Every week, what I would do is go, we didn't have enough time to really show this. So there's a video and a little tutorial, and I worked all day on. So I would spend basically 2 days of my life was just awesome. Screensavers every week, because the first day I would figure it out and figure out how to do it quickly. Then I'd build literally a PDF of how to do whatever I was going to show on screensavers. Then I would have a little movie on how to do it.
So funny.
And then I would
I'm
put it
just learning this now, 20 years later.
So then I would have, so it was like 2 days of, and then I would show up like I just came up with this thing, and then I would, I got an idea, let's do this thing. And then what happened was you go to our website and it would put you behind, it was behind an email, give us your email and we'll let you watch a 20-minute version of what I did in 7 minutes. And there's a PDF of literally step by step that I painstakingly put through and tested.
You know what? I wish more of our guests had done that, because that's hugely valuable.
Well, and
Bert Monroy would come on. Happy birthday, by the way, 70 years old. Bert Monroy would come on. He'd go, and you got a brick wall. And I was always say, Bert, could you please tell us how to do that?
Right. So, and I would get 1,000 new emails a week, nice. Of the stuff. And so after a year or so,
70,000 emails letter.
So we put out an email. It was like, people kept on saying, can you do Photoshop training? And I was like, there are books. There's a whole section in Borders Bookstore and everything else. No, we want you to do it. So I announced that, hey, I'm doing it. And if you buy it right now, it's cheaper, $35 or something for the disc. And I figured we'd sell a couple hundred. Yeah, we sold 2,000 in the first day. And they're on disc. And so we had to buy a disc printer and a thing and a thing and a thing. Like we had no plan.
Now, yeah.
But nowadays it would have just been, you can just go there and download it. With the other problem we have on our app, we got Smart, knows no disc. You could only download it. But it was I didn't put any copyright. We never told anyone, but we had a little installer, but we never had any copy protection at all. Like we just didn't. It was just like, oh, I don't want to spend money on it, and we figured someone will break it anyway, so why bother putting it in, you know? And so we just sold this thing that had no copy protection, and it was $128K, but it was still like we had to pay someone for managing our e-commerce, and then we didn't have any protection. Now you have this incredible opportunity where it's copy, you know. Because it's cheap, because it's so protected within the ecosystem, the prices for us as consumers goes down because I don't have to account for all the people stealing it, and there's, so I can sell it for $5 or $10 or $15 instead of when you bought it before, the legal people were paying $75 or $100 because there were thousands of people that were. For every one person that was paying for it, there was 100 people who weren't.
What are companies?
That was the issue.
Instagram leaps to mind. Without the App Store, there would be no Instagram, which ended up selling to Facebook for $1 billion.
Arguably Uber. I mean,
Uber.
There's a
without a phone app, there is no Uber.
Totally. And one of the things that, like, you can make a lot of arguments about good choices and bad choices that Apple has made, but one of the biggest gripes is that Apple has been way too restrictive. But then you look at more open app stores, and there's really no compelling apps that have done anything beyond what you can do in the App Store. And in fact, most of the compelling apps are available on every platform now, and have really, like, they've changed logistics, and they've changed commerce, and they've changed communication, like just messaging and social networks and all of these things. Facebook and Twitter came alive because of mobile, being
Absolutely.
primarily
Twitter makes no sense without an app.
Yeah.
Neither does Spotify. Neither does
remember Twitter started as text messaging, so.
Yeah, but I mean, that very quickly, it outgrew that very quickly. If you ever use Twitter as a text messaging platform, you realize getting all those messages was a bad idea.
Like Joe Hewitt's first Facebook app, too. I mean, that was transformative for them.
Facebook was huge. In fact, Facebook is according to App Annie, the #1 most downloaded.
Do you remember when Facebook came out with an app? I was like, I don't even want to bother.
It was a terrible.
It was like, oh, this is stupid. I'm just going to go back to But
they made that special framework. I forget what it was called, but everyone used it for
React.
a long time.
Yeah.
Actually, before that, it was a web app to.
Oh yeah. That was their mistake, and they even admitted that. They said, we just made it a website on an app. Right. And the irony of all this is we're going back to website apps with progressive web apps, and Apple's going to support it. And so you're going to get to now, soon you'll be going to websites. It'll say, would you like to download? Would you like to put this on the home page? And it's a full offline app.
We went from Java to Air to Electron to progressive web apps.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some commodity cross-platform framework.
Yeah. It is, and that's a good way to put it, a commodity. Yelp, Airbnb.
Yeah.
I could think of a lot of apps that businesses that wouldn't exist without apps.
We were just talking about it, Pokemon Go. You have to have location and screen and data and all these things.
And you can say now, well, now that Android has come along and had an app store too, that they certainly are a big part of the ecosystem these days. But Apple started it all.